Welcome to Live and Love Life with Alena Chapman, a show that explores and shares with you how individuals who were once facing unsurmountable obstacles and setbacks have overcome them by using a certain set of tools, techniques, and attitude to help them transform their lives from ordinary into extraordinary. These same tools are shared with you here in this show so you too can lead a life that you love. And now, here's our host, Alena Chapman.
Welcome, everyone. Today's guest, her name is Joslyn Wolfe, and I have had the pleasure to get to know her. She's a stupendous woman. I met her through Focus on Women, and actually she contacted me. She liked my book, and she was interested in having me, they wanted to promote my book and have me come to a special event for women writers. So that's how I met Joslyn. I didn't expect to meet someone who was so full of life, just glowing, just a very, very cool person. And the women I met through this organization are all very accomplished, fun, smart, independent. But anyway, with that, I want to bring Joslyn on so you can learn a little bit about her. Hi, Joslyn.
Hi, Alena. How are you?
It is so good to have you here. I am fine. I would love you to tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, where your life is now, the things that you love about your life, and what you've done.
Okay. Well, my life right now involves being a mom, and I say a teenage mom because I'm mischievous when it comes to language. I consider language to be my playground. I am a mother of two teenagers, one 13, the other 16. And right now I'm a publisher of a women's magazine, Focus on Women magazine, which has three components. One is the La Femme de Prose books, and the other is the Afghan craft, or the craft portion, which involves supporting microcredit enterprises in Afghanistan for women who've been mutilated, set afire, and if raped, sent to prison.
I think what you do is absolutely fabulous, trying to help the women in Afghanistan. What started you on that?
Well, if I have gone further than others, it's really because I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me, and that would be namely my mother, who's the rock of my life. She had just an indomitable spirit and unwavering faith. Other people who had an impact was a professor I had in college. That was Professor Deborah Auger. And then there were other mentors in my life who were women who were success stories. They were helpful as well. So those were people who inspired me to learn myself and to know myself. And through knowing myself, I realized what my passion was, and that is to help those women who are at least among us, and to do what I can to create a voice for the proverbial room that Virginia Woolf speaks about, a room of her own.
Oh, beautiful. You know, when you were growing up, did you always know that this is where you wanted to go, or was it a discovery?
I guess it was partly a discovery and partly a goal, because I wrote my first play when I was 10. But because my mother worked outside of the home, there wasn't really anyone to pay attention to my inclinations to know those were my true interests and those were my strengths. But I knew after writing that play when I was 10 and also getting published in one of the children's magazines with a poem I wrote for Highlights magazine and Back in Jill magazine, I knew that something that served something in me that made me know I would do something related to writing. And when I became older, I went to college, and I was on the college newspaper staff, and I was editor, and then, of course, writer. Started as writer and editor, and I won fellowships as a journalist, fellowships, and then a publishing fellowship, which took me away and out of state, and also it came along with a stipend. And I learned more about where I wanted to be and how I wanted to navigate in life as a writer. And I secured a position as a journalist in a newspaper that was for a good 3 years. And at that time, when I did secure a position, I was recently married, and I would see my husband every 21 days. So I realized that I wanted to be married rather than not be married, but I thought I needed something that would give me more stability, and then I went into teaching. And I, of course, taught English, but even as I was teaching, I still pursued my passion, and every opportunity I had, I was writing for a newspaper or some other publication. And then it was in '07 when I realized that my passion was truly to support women and to somehow support them through some type of creative outlet and through publishing. And that's when I founded Focus on Women magazine, which took a painful, lonely weekend. I was recently separated, and it was the first weekend my daughters were away from me. And in that space of time, I created the concept, the idea, the blueprint for Focus on Women magazine.
That right there shows character, because I know how hard it is when you're separated and the kids are with your ex, and how hard that is for a person. And a lot of women don't use that as a creative time. You know, that right there shows strength and fortitude. That's a very good quality, you know.
Yeah, if it were not for that, I don't know where I would have been in terms of emotionally strong. I would not have been emotionally strong at that moment when I was vulnerable.
In general, what do you think are your tools, insights, or concepts, things that you use to get you through the challenges? What would you name? I mean, that fortitude, definitely. But what else? Are there other things you draw upon?
Yes, I've always felt that messages come through words, through prose. So I read inspiring works. It might come from Shakespeare. It might come from Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. It might come from Eleanor Roosevelt, who's one of my role models.
Oh, yes.
Or it just might come from just watching people who have actually rebounded or pushed through challenges in their lives and became successful. But I would say the personal attributes would be persistence and faith and unwavering faith.
Yes.
And knowing myself. And also wanting to make a difference, trying to, there's a Hebrew word for repair the world, which is tikkun olam.
Oh.
So trying to create a better world through being guided by that idea of repairing the world, tikkun olam.
That's beautiful. It's funny, you name persistence, unwavering strength. Have you ever read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich?
I have never read that, but I've heard so much about it.
Persistence, he has a whole chapter on persistence that people actually study. Persistence is such a valuable quality to have. I akin it to almost discipline. You know, you just keep going for it. You just know. And that unwavering faith, when you speak of unwavering faith, where is that unwavering faith for you? What is that belief that you just hold out there as it's going to be?
Well, not paying attention to distractions. I mean, there will be people who will say, you're not going to do this. I mean, my ex, I remember him saying, oh, this is such a pipe dream. He was literally teasing me about the idea of having a magazine. But it wasn't until we have outdoor boxes for the magazine to be distributed, as well as other distribution places like cafes and stores and so forth. But it wasn't until there was an outdoor box placed outside of his office that he realized that I actually was not going to be distracted by what he was saying. I also think I pushed forward, I guess, a sense of stubbornness, because when someone says I can't do something, I have to show them that I can.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
That's part of it too.
It's a little bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad quality. I even wrote an article one time about if someone wants to succeed, they should have the qualities of a rebel, because a rebel will want to prove people wrong instead of going along with the crowd. And they do believe in themselves because they have none of the hang-ups that people have tried to put on them in the years. And they want to achieve it. They want to do it. And they'll think outside the box, which you obviously do too. So you've got some qualities there, my dear.
Yes.
I also noticed what you said. You don't turn your head towards distractions. You're very persistent. You stay to the task.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And those are qualities of some of the greatest leaders too. You know that, don't you?
No, I really wasn't aware of that. I know I have read, because being an English major, you have to also read, the philosophers. So I guess Machiavelli was one of them, but he's not one of my favorites. But but others, Simone de Beauvoir, she's one of my favorites, and other suffragettes who I learned to know through their writings and their works and their activism. Yes, I would concur with you on that.
Oh, yeah. Persistence and unwavering faith. I think the unwavering faith gives people optimism. Does that work for you? Do you feel like you have a bit of optimism?
Sure, absolutely. And I have to remind myself, and I have my moments when I don't, but I do remind myself that I'm counting my blessings, and I'm looking at the better side, and I'm looking at the past where things were great, and I accomplished X, Y, and Z, or I won't say I accomplished, but we accomplished. And when I say we, I'm talking about the collective body of women who I've managed to meet and connect with, how we've made accomplishments in the past, and that's just a blueprint of what we can accomplish in the future, and that optimism ties into that.
It does. If you were talking to a young girl or a girl who's just breaking into her teens, like what you are raising, but what words of advice would you give to them about learning from other women?
I would say definitely surround oneself with positive thinking people who have a pattern of success, people who are moving forward, people who share the values and beliefs that you do about integrity, about knowing oneself, and also about trying to make the world a better place. People who are willing to also step outside of their comfort zone and not follow the status quo if it needs to make things better. So I would definitely suggest hanging out with people like that, as well as taking in the counsel of the elders, because even as an adult, I seek out older women who can counsel me and give me, as I said, good counsel, ideas, inspiration, faith, encourage me in my faith, and support me in my ideals and goals.
Yeah, I do believe that. I do too. I have I have women mentors that are just, they're phenomenal. I mean, they are the ones that they understand more than some of the more masculine mentors, because I am a woman. And sometimes it is a little bit different. The path is a little bit different. They just offer that understanding, that perspective. And I also like to learn some of the things they had to triumph over. The power of being with people that not only positive, but that's important too, but that comes naturally. When people are striving for their dreams, or they have that quality of unwavering faith, and they're really going for something, and they're an idea person, and they're making their ideas come true, they tend to be positive anyway. But aligning people with people who are doing something to better this world and have goodness in their heart, I believe very strongly in that too. And it is very important that we align ourselves with the people we want to be, or the people that we're becoming, because it helps you grow. It's very important. And if our vibration is there, they naturally come. If our thoughts and our vibration is up there, they can't help but come. And the others fall away. They really do. As we grow, our friends change. It's just a natural process because you're growing. They have to. It's not a sad time at all. It's just an end of one cycle into another. And you're growing. New ones will come. But it is very important. For times in our lives when there's a little bit of, when there's an obstacle, a challenge, could you give the listeners how this persistence, this unwavering faith, this rebel, or whatever it is, how has that helped you get through that challenge?
Yeah, there's certain things that I affirm within myself that I know it is only temporary. And I also know that this challenge is not unique in itself to me. There's relativity to this challenge. It's a matter of perspective.
It is.
And I never see things in their permanency because I don't think things exist in their permanency.
No.
They are constantly changing and they're dynamic and they're non-static. And those challenges morph into opportunities as well.
Yes.
So
yes.
The perspective, it's a matter of perspective and how I navigate challenges. I don't see them as barriers.
That's very good. Yeah, I do too. I always see everything is changing, and it does help. It is perspective. It's the perspective of the world. I always tell the story of a friend of mine. We were walking out of a store, and we looked up at the sky, and I saw the clouds, and in the clouds there was an X.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh my gosh, look at that. There's an X in the clouds." And my friend said, "Oh no, that's horrible. We're going to have a terrible day. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." And I said, "What are you talking about? That is a kiss. X's and O's, it's a kiss. We're going to have a really beautiful day. Everything good. It's good luck." It is perspective because when I called her later, I said, "So how you doing?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, what a bad day I've had. This happened. This is just all terrible." And I said, "You're kidding," because I had the most awesome day, which I had. It's perspective. It's how we view our situations, our circumstances, everything. How we view it is what will happen. It just can't be any other way. So yeah, I do think that perspective thing is so, so important. I always say it's 3:00 in the afternoon for me. 3:00 in the afternoon is my lull. If I am going to have any negative thing hit, it will be that 3:00 to 4:30 time. That's just my body wants down. And I've recognized that. But there's also times in our life that we just can't seem to get that good perspective. That what do you do to bring yourself back up to the vibration you want to be, get that perspective clicking in, get yourself back to where you want to be, basically?
Yeah. So when I need to rejuvenate myself, I go into nature. I just walk into nature. I live close to a park, and I just go right to nature and take my retreat. One of my favorite authors was Thoreau.
I know.
And Thoreau was a transcendentalist, and he oftentimes talked about how he needed to make his retreats into nature so that he could transcend certain scenarios and situations and realize his greatness. And that's exactly what I've had to do.
Yeah.
And that gives me a perspective if I'm feeling that way, just being close to nature. And I find nature to be a healing balm for me.
It does.
If I'm grieving, nature soothes me. If I'm not feeling well, it soothes me. Anything related to nature is what helps me regain perspective and inner strength.
Yeah, I agree. If you just get out there and listen to the wind going through the trees and feel the leaves crunch beneath your feet and the peace and how everything just stops. I love it. All the hustle and bustle and, oh gosh, it's just stopped. The only other place I ever found that was, have you ever snorkeled?
Yes, I've tried to. I don't know how successful I was, but I tried to. But yes, but water also soothes me.
I love water. Well, when I snorkeled, and I didn't do what are they, deep sea diving at all. I mean, I like to feel like I'm right there towards the surface, but you're under the water. And I don't know if you did that. It feels like another world. It feels like a totally another world. Do you get that feeling?
I do, and I find it very soothing.
It is. It's incredibly soothing. And I think it just, yeah, it does. It lets us know that, and I always think that nature has been here a lot longer than we have. And it's still here. No matter what, it always comes back. And that just, for me, makes me feel like it's worth it. If it's strong, I can be strong,
Yes. Right.
And I also love music. Music's another way.
Uh-huh.
But, music is another way that I love to get myself up. But I went into music and you went into literature. and that's why. I love how your whole career has just morphed into more.
Yeah, it has. But since I was a child, honestly, I remember my siblings saying, "We don't know what happened to you," because I was giving my allowance away to charity. So I've always had this tendency
That's so
to,
cute.
to help others. But it translated and morphed into these three dimensions of my life at the current time, and I expect them to be a mainstay.
I would like to talk a little bit more about the women that you help in Afghanistan, because I know that's something that is important to you, and I'd like to bring awareness. So could you tell us a little bit more? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, there are women in the Hindu Kush Mountains who we started helping in the very beginning, and we were connected through USAID people and also NGOs, heads of NGOs. And they helped us. First, we brought attention to their plight in the magazine, and we said we would promote them. But something got lost in the translation, and what we had in mind of promoting just meant having them in print and talking about what they were doing over there. But what they had in promoting meant sending us packages of their crafts. The very month, it was in November, it was a few years back, and the very month of November when we said, okay, I think it was 2008, 2009, we said, okay, we'll help them promote their craft project. Well, again, we had them in the magazine, but then the day before Thanksgiving, we were receiving boxes of their goods. So it began a process of us selling the goods and then sending them international transfers, and then we got connected with another group of women. They're called Shurers, and then we would send them funds, and then they would send us crafts, and then we would get connected with another group, and then there are three groups, and then we would send them funds, and then they would send crafts. So it's worked that way, but then once we started the bookstore component of the business, we decided that really what we need is to encourage women to have a voice and to speak up against injustices. What would be a better way to give tribute to these women other than finding a way to have our bookstore make a contribution through that venue to these women? So we now have that component where there are proceeds from our book sales that go to the women Shurers. And this group, actually, they plant mulberry trees and they harvest silkworms, and from the silkworms they create crafts. So
cool.
That's how that works. But these women have been mutilated, set afire, and raped, sent to prison.
Awful.
And these are the women we have sought out to help, and particularly the servant class, and they are the women in the Hindu Kush Mountains, because they've been discriminated against since the days of Genghis Khan to the modern day times of the Taliban, and they look distinctly different from the Afghans who we see on television or through news media or any other kind of print media. They have a distinct physical, different appearance. And we wanted to reach out to them. And I tell you, the first time that we were able to bring their goods to market, I was told by one of the heads of the NGOs that they were brought to tears because they said they've been marginalized from the workplace. They've been marginalized as a group of people.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, they were the servant class, and they still are considered, and they face discrimination. They still are considered as such. But there they were saying that no one has ever helped them like that. And that was worth.
That's amazing.
There's nothing else. That was just a priceless opportunity to hear about that we're so tearful about our helping facilitate bringing their goods to market.
Wow. Yeah, that is tremendous. I found, actually, going to the event, I found out so much about what women in Afghanistan have had to endure. It's really tremendous. And I also, we're so naive here in America. And so many, at least I was. I don't know, maybe everybody else is up with it, but I wasn't. And I was amazed to know that I didn't realize that so many women were professors. I always heard that the women were always pushed down. But in Afghanistan, what was it? 95% were actually engineers. 95% of the engineers were women, and the professors in the colleges. And it's just awesome. That's incredible.
But, of course, when the Taliban took over, that.
Well, then they're pushed down.
Exactly. They got rid of the intelligentsia, or they repressed it and suppressed it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard a lot of them are going into hiding.
Yes, they are.
And
you have to. In fact, the woman who was with us, there's a bounty on her head as well. That's why we were. I was very careful about her, about anyone taking pictures of her. Very, very mindful of that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, she's the one I talked to, and I found she's so intelligent, and gosh, I liked her so much. When I sat down with her, I was so bubbly and everything, and she's pretty serious. And I'm bubbling all over the place. And we looked very opposite, let's put it that way. She sat with her arms crossed.
So it's in reserve. And she's seen a lot, too. In fact, just recently, when she went over there, she was nearly not with us that night because she, just within a hair's breadth, avoided a suicide bombing that was right, maybe a foot away from her.
You're kidding.
So had her driver had not turned away, she would have been caught in that bombing.
Oh my gosh!
So,
the things she sees.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a rationale for that.
What a hero. Well, she just kind of looked at me for a little while.
She does. She studies people.
Oh yeah, she's very cool. But then she just became. I just adored her. We ended up talking the night away. Her stories just amazed me, and I just told her I feel like I just didn't know, and it just amazed me how much I didn't know. She's an awesome person. She's just an incredible person with everything she does, and the stories she told me just amazed me. I'm kind of blown over with how little we really do know.
Right. And, we spoke earlier about mentors. She's one of my mentors.
Oh, I bet she is.
Question.
I bet she is.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Although she's fussy, I will concur, she's fussy at times.
Well, I can see why.
She's my mentor.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah. Oh, she's someone I would love to stay in touch with. I think the world of her. I think the world of her, and her heart. She's got the heart of a lion.
Yes, she does.
Just phenomenal woman. But anyway, yes, I can see. So Afghanistan is the main area that the organization. I say we're because my book. Joslyn contacted me. She liked my book, and so they're promoting it. But the deal is that some of the sale, and so if you're going to buy the book, buy it through Joslyn, and you'll give them the information, because that way the proceeds go to help these women.
Exactly.
Which, that's an awesome thing. So I'm all for that. If somebody does want to buy a book, or not just mine, but any of the books you promote, where can they go?
Well, they'll go to Focus on Women magazine, and they'll scroll over to the ebook store, and then they'll make a request for the book, either in soft cover or in ebook form, e-format.
And it's www.focusonwomen like that? Or
Yeah, or www.info@focusonwomenmagazine.net, or just focusonwomenmagazine.net.
Okay. The world is such a small place, and it's so important that we help. It really is.
Yeah.
I learned so much. Thank you, Joslyn. I learned about the white lions. I've learned about what's really going on in the world. It was a fabulous event. It really was.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad we could help. And we plan to expand the consciousness of all through our next event, which will be next year. So, same time in October, probably not the same place.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Same time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we plan to do that.
If somebody is, I don't know, they're just starting to think about, maybe they're thinking about living their life dream, but they haven't taken the steps yet. What kind of advice, what nugget can you give them?
I would talk them into doing some volunteer in the area and in that particular arena or expertise, and getting some exposure to it so that they know that's what they would like to do. And I would also recommend not quitting their day job just yet. But if they're able to, or take a sabbatical, then that would also be an opportunity. And sometimes what we think challenges are, their opportunities as well, because some of us may find ourselves laid off and interacted with other women where that was the case. And the best thing to do if you're laid off and you're collecting unemployment is to immediately start volunteering someplace, because that will give you a new set of skills for 6 months so that you can move forward in what very well could be a career of what you prefer, or develop a new skill set so that makes you more marketable.
Right.
That would be some advice that I would offer.
Oh, I love it.
Volunteering would be the best avenue as a start. And then preparation. The preparation for that would be taking some coursework. There are lots of opportunities to take courses online. I have a friend who is a statistician, and she always wanted to teach an online course for ESOL to ESOL students. So she got a certification online through her ESOL certification program, and now she's teaching ESOL students. So that's
very cool.
Another opportunity.
Concrete steps. That's always important. Those concrete steps help you step forward into it. And also, and I love the idea, and it's very true, whenever you are in any kind of challenge, trauma, or change in your life transition, always when you're helping others, your purpose comes out. It really does.
Sure.
It really does. Always, and it's always in giving that we receive. Always, always, always.
Exactly. And keep in mind that when we give, we always get paid in spades.
Oh my gosh, yes. More than we ask for.
Yeah, not being so self-absorbed and thinking, I have to do this for me. It's not about me, it's about we. And when you're reaching out and you're helping, you reach down and you help the other up. That's important too, because you also get your benefits through that.
It's true. It's giving with an open heart, totally open. Oh, Joslyn, I've enjoyed so much having you on the show. And then if people want to get hold of you, what's the best way?
They can call our office, and our office number is 410-630-1224, or they can go to info@focusonwomenmagazine.org. They can also, if you'd like a copy of the magazine, one thing I didn't mention, and that is we have an oral project called Quilted Voices Healing Stories, and it's an international project where women are giving a voice to being targets of violence. And if they'd like to contribute to that, please reach out to us through info@focusonwomenmagazine.org.
Oh, you are just moving mountains, my dear. Doing a wonderful job at it. You really are.
As you are as well. I am equally impressed with you, Alena. You are quite a lady.
Well, thank you.
Quite an accomplished one, I might add, too.
Wow, you're very sweet. Thank you very much. Well, all right, everyone. So look at the Focus on Women magazine because it is phenomenal. And maybe see how you can help. We are a very small world. There are so many women and men too, but this is focusing on women a little bit more who, haven't had the advantages or have had the advantages and then have it taken away. And my gosh, it can happen in the split of a second. It really can. So, if we're there for each other, that's important. If you want to learn a little bit more about Alena Chapman, go to, and it is a change, guys, it's alenachapmanlife.com. And I love your comments. I love your questions. Please leave comments and questions. If I can help you in any way, I'm always there. Make it a tremendously awesome day. Bye-bye now.
You've been listening to Live and Love Life with Alena Chapman. For more information on the show, its guests, or to contact Alena, please visit alenachapmanlife.com. Have an awesome day, and we remind you to live and love life.